Hello everyone, welcome back to Shining Brighter. My name is Nick and I am excited to be back for another video. But before I get going, if you like the content that I'm providing, if you find it helpful or it's helping someone you know, then please take a chance, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment. Let me know if there's something that I can expound on, or if there's a new topic, or if you have any questions. That's what I'm here for. So today we're going to talk about learning to let go. And this is a crucial part of starting the healing process if you're at that point in your life, whether it be work-related, family-related, love life, whatever the case is that you're healing from. And this is oftentimes one of the hardest things to learn. Extremely difficult for me. Of course, I have two strikes working against me. I'm a Capricorn, so we're pretty stubborn and we hold on to things. And I'm also Italian. And, I think everybody knows that Italians basically created vendettas. But we are very passionate, loving people. So anyway, learning to let go, it's just not easy for a lot of people. And I understand why. When you get hurt or you're wronged, or people just don't treat you with the respect that they should, and it's natural to have anger and resentment towards that. And it's natural to be hurt, and it's natural, to kind of fall into it and get sucked in and, have the for lack of a better term, the pity party. And once you fall in, it's not so easy to come out a lot of times. It depends on your strength, your beliefs, if you know your value and your worth, and most importantly, if you have self-respect. As I say in just about every video, respect is everything. And it's most important when it applies to yourself. And especially you respecting yourself. So when I started about 2 years ago, realizing that both my work and home life were toxic and they weren't doing me any favors, and I needed to get out of it all, I made the decision, because I hit my breaking point, and everybody will have their own, and everybody's tolerance is different. But it was hard, really hard to let go of the pain, the anger, the frustration, because I don't know that it's that you want the person or people to see your anger and disappointment and frustration in hopes that they'll either feel bad or recognize that maybe they were wrong, or they'll experience some of your pain. Whatever it is, it is. And I'm not going to tell you those feelings aren't valid, because they're your feelings. So, nobody can tell you one way or the other. What I am going to say is that they don't serve you. None of that serves you at all. All it does is keeps you down, brings you down even lower. And essentially, you're still giving your power up to the person or the people that you feel put you there. Now, you got to take responsibility for your part of it, because you wouldn't be there if you didn't tolerate it or allow it to happen on some level. That's a hard pill to swallow too, because nobody ever wants to look at the situation and think any of it's their fault, because you would never want to believe that you would allow something like that to happen to yourself. Truth is, that's exactly what happens. Now, in my case, at work, I've talked about this here and there. I was burnt in a lot of instances. I was treated poorly. I was taken for granted. My value and my worth were not recognized. In some cases they were, but intentionally stifled, because the people that did recognize them found it threatening. So instead of, seeing me as an asset and an ally, they chose to look at me as an enemy and a threat, which is a shame, because I know, what I could have contributed. And now I no longer want a part of that world. Being burnt on promotions, being buried on the graveyard shift, all of it designed to try and push me out. And I didn't give them the satisfaction. As much as I hated it all, I'm leaving on my terms. And I'm proud of that. And I know for a fact that it's driving certain people crazy. They can't understand how I stood through everything that they did to me and emerged out on top. And when I gave the announcement that I'm leaving, it was a shock to their system. So I didn't do it to shock anybody. I didn't do it to hurt anybody. I didn't do it for anybody but myself, because I deserve better. And I want better, and I'm going to have better. I already have better. So I had to let go of the anger and the pain and the frustration of everything that was done to me there. And someday I got to write a book on it, because most people wouldn't believe me if I told you. And it was hard. It was really, really hard, because, I kept thinking my entire career I've done the right thing. I've tried to hold myself to that higher standard that police officers are supposed to be held to. Held myself accountable. Tried harder, and kept doing the things that I thought I needed to do, but what I was doing was people pleasing. And that was my fault. I believed in the good of people, and I believed that if I showed them enough, that eventually they'd come around and, they'd treat me better. And it's not that there isn't good in people and that there aren't good people, because there are. But these days, I think a lot of us can agree, it seems like those people are few and far between, especially in the working world. But I took a lot of that stuff hard, especially getting burnt on the last promotion. And it put me into a really, really dark place, because that was right at the same time that I was initiating the divorce. So I had no outlets. Working home, it was brutal. And the universe had been trying to tell me for a while that I needed to be out of both situations. And because I wasn't listening, karma came knocking. And even when I started to know, that I should have been gone, I was still holding on to that incorrect hope that I had. So karma did what it does, and it just kept coming harder and harder until I finally, got kicked in the ass one more time and said, okay, I get it. I learned. And once I made the decision to leave both places, it was like an enormous weight was lifted off my shoulders. I felt like I could breathe again, started to feel better about myself, started to look at everything in a different light. But when you hold on to anger and frustration, and people see it, especially the people, that are a partial cause of it, it doesn't do anything to them at all. except empower them to keep treating you that way and feeling better about themselves. Because like I said before, the people that do those kind of things to you are hurting inside. And they have weaknesses and insecurities, and they see the strengths in you, and it freaks them out because they somehow think it's going to take away from them. And the only way that they can feel better about themselves is to try and keep you down. And that's what holding on to all the anger and frustration and sadness and pain does. It keeps you in that down energy. It is very difficult, guys. I'm not going to lie. You know, some people it won't be. Some people have already gotten to a much stronger place, or were there to begin with. And those people, you know, they won't tolerate it right off the bat, and, you know, they'll leave. They'll just leave, and good for them. I'm a firm believer in it. If the place where you are and the people that you're surrounded by aren't there to add anything positive to your life, then cut off access. They don't deserve it. They don't earn it. And you certainly don't need them. With the divorce, it was very difficult as well because, you know, for my part, I tried to go about it very amicably, very civilly, and unfortunately, you know, it's not what my ex-partner wanted. And again, no disrespect, I'm not bashing my ex. It's not what it's about. And I'm not trying to make her look bad because, you know, I've said before that I've had accountability as well. And I had to look at that and accept a lot that I didn't want to accept. But once I started seeing the reason that things were happening to me, and I started to let go of, you know, my old self, my old beliefs, and the anger and, you know, the hatred. And there were times where hatred is what I felt, and I have no use for that anymore. I get it. I understand why people have hatred for others. And it's sad because it is very, very, very powerful and strong and damaging emotion for you and for them. If you can learn to let go of hatred in itself, that is huge on your journey of healing. I had to let go of, you know, the fact that I kept getting lied to, and I kept getting manipulated, which eventually turned into attempting to manipulate me because I finally saw it for what it was and stopped letting it get to me. And the transformation from then till now has been enormous in my life. And I'm grateful that I was able to do it. I still have people attempting to manipulate me and trying to draw me in. I just don't give it any energy. I've let it go. I feel bad for those people. I don't hate them. I don't have any ill will towards them. I don't wish any bad for them. I feel sorry for them and I pity them. And I truly hope that they can learn from the experience like I did. And it's going to be different for everybody. And some people will, you know, learn something, and others will just continue on that stubborn path. And karma will just keep coming hard for those people. And again, I don't wish that on them. Life can be hard enough if you let it. So when you're in one of those times when somebody has wronged you, or hurt you, or, you know, in my case, treated me like I didn't matter, stop and think about it. Don't just go right into that dark place. Don't go right to hate. Don't go right into anger and frustration. Sorry, bugs are out here. But step back, take a broader look at the situation, and see what's really going on. I think you'll find, in many cases, that it's exactly what I'm talking about. The person or people that are trying to bring you down, they don't have a happy life. They may look it on the surface, but, you know, nobody really knows what's going on in a person's life, you know, unless you get really close and they open up to you and they confide in you. Not a lot of people these days are willing to do that. And part of it is because of the pain and or shame that they carry. Some people can't face their demons. Some people can't just see what they're doing, because nobody's ever pointed it out. Nobody's ever put their foot down or, you know, stood up to them, anything like that. But that's the only way that they're ever gonna have any kind of growth or be able to change. So when you are dealing with people like that, like I said, before you do anything that is in essence only going to be harmful to you, stop and look at the situation, look at who you're dealing with, and just say to yourself, is it worth me losing anything over this? Because I think you'll be surprised at how much quicker you recover, and eventually how you just don't let anything get to you anymore. Letting go and doing the things to invest in yourself and improve your life in spite of what people are trying to do to you, that is one of the best things that you can do for everybody, because not only will you come out shining brighter, but you might teach that person something that they needed to learn. So as always, guys, know your value, know your worth, and respect yourselves. I see you all for who you really are, and I love you for it. Have a fantastic day, everyone.